Hello and welcome to Modern Energy 101. I'm Silvia Hartmann, and I think you're going to find some things that are very interesting in this course and that are going to help you get on with life in a whole new way. So let's start right at the beginning. What is modern energy? Start with the modern part. Modern energy is not based on the old, ancient types of energy work. For example, the Chinese acupuncture system or the Indian chakra system. Modern energy came about as the result of some animal behavior studies that I conducted in 1987. There it became obvious to me and the other people who were helping me at the time that there is an invisible something that is being exchanged between social mammals, and that is of the absolute essence for their well-being and which drives their behavior. This invisible something, we didn't know what that was. We just knew that there was something being exchanged, and when these exchanges were interrupted or disrupted or they were going wrong in some way, negative behavior was the result. And that if you encourage these exchanges of the invisible something and provided more of it, that behavior would improve. And not only behavior would improve, but also health would improve. For example, creatures that were so stressed that their hair was falling out and that they were having skin diseases and ear infections, eye infections all the time, they became fitter and healthier and shinier and glossier. So that was absolutely fascinating to us back in the day, and we investigated this invisible something a little further. And then one night in 1993, I had the big amazing grace moment, and I understood that the invisible something we were dealing with was what is called love. Love is real. It really exists. You can really give it and take it. And in fact, if you don't get enough of it through your systems, you are going to become sick. It's a quite fascinating thing. And to have, found this, my past aspect was totally astonished. And of course she went away and tried to find a place where what she had found was already being enacted, where she could fit in. And it turns out that nobody had noticed this connection, or if they had, this had been forgotten over time. And there was really nowhere at all where what she had found was acceptable, understood, or enacted in any way, which left her no choice. She had to create what we now know modern energy. This is why we have modern energy. So modern energy is new, it's modern, and it's based entirely on proper feedback, on proper experimentation, and it is what makes energy work measurable, accurate, and really easy to understand as well, all at the same time. So that's the modern part. The energy part is, well, I called it love back in the day, and then I obviously went and had a look around the new age energy medicine type of scene and came up with the word energy. So we started to use the word energy instead of love, because love is actually a very controversial word to be using. But when we talk about energy, I would like you to keep that in mind, that the original breakthrough was that this energy is actually love. So, modern energy 101. What an exciting journey. So let us begin with some of the real basics that we have discovered over the years. So number one is that energy is real. It is really, really real. And just because we can't see it doesn't mean it isn't real. We can't see what happens with uranium either, and that's quite real as well. So what we are looking at is not energy directly, but the effects that it produces, the noticeable, measurable effects that it produces. And in that way, energy becomes very scientific. Now, we can't see energy, but we can feel it. We can feel it in our own bodies. Our energy body transmits how it feels to us through the medium of emotions. That was the second big breakthrough, and that came along in 2002 when I discovered what we now call EMO Energy in motion. And this is really a remarkable thing. It is just astonishing. We can't see energy, but we can feel it, and it is what our emotions are. Our emotions are feedback from the energy body. So if the energy body is unhappy, we feel unhappy in our bodies, in our physical bodies. We feel heavy, so we have no power, we might have a backache because it's so hard to walk. We can't think properly because there's pressure in our heads. Our arms are heavy, our hands are clumsy. And that is the transmission of an unhappy energy body. Now, when the energy body is happy, on the other hand, well, hey, it's like we are in love. Gravity becomes lighter, the colors get brighter, the air becomes fresher and clearer, we feel tingles in our body, we feel electricity running down our backs and our necks, and our fingers are tingling and wanting to touch and explore and make things. It's so exciting. And that's again the energy body. The energy body has woken up and gone woohoo, and we feel that through our physical bodies. And it really is, at the end of the day, as simple as that. When your energy body is happy, you're happy. And when your energy body isn't, you've got no chance of happiness at all. No matter how many drugs you take, how many pills you take, happiness comes from a happy energy body. Now, your happiness matters. It really matters. Do you remember that right at the beginning I said that the modern energy comes from this energy exchange between social mammals, the research that we did back then? Your happiness has everything to do with how you affect the people around you. You are not alone. It may feel that way in low energy states as we become more and more disconnected from other people, that we're alone, but we're not. An unhappy person becomes a negative vortex in the lives of everybody they touch. And that's not just their friends and family, their loved ones, or people that they live with, or their next door neighbors for that matter. It goes so much further than that. Wherever this unhappy vortex goes, misery must ricochet around them in large concentric circles. So a miserable person goes shopping and they're at the checkout assistant. So now the checkout assistants are like, oh God, there's a horrible man and horrible people. It transmits from one person to the other like a virus. This has two really important messages that have been, in my opinion, very much overlooked in the construction of our societies. Number one is that happiness for the individual is the building block to the happiness of the entire society. And you can't exclude people from that. Just ask the guys from the French Revolution what happens when you do. Every person in a society needs to be happy to contribute to the society as a whole. So it's not just important for individuals to get their head around that the days of sacrificing yourself for the sake so that others may be happy has got to be over. But it's also incumbent upon the society to make its members happier, because it can only be as strong, as powerful, as successful, as creative, as protective as its members will allow. So society needs to make people happier. We need to make ourselves happier, and we also need to contribute to other people's happiness as much as possible, as much as we can, in order to get things done for us, for them, for all of us together. That's why your happiness matters so much. Now, I appreciate we've been told all our lives the exact opposite, and this is very much a factor in modern energy, is that it seems to be a 180-degree reversal of what we've been told all our lives. We've been told that our happiness means nothing, everybody else's happiness comes first, and the more you sacrifice yourself, the more you bleed, the more horrible shit you go through, that somehow this makes you a better person. Well, like, newsflash, it doesn't. It makes you a much, much worse person. And this is where we come to the modern energy chart. Okay, so let's just have a look at the modern energy chart. This is a pictorial representation of a pattern that exists at least, and I mean at least, in all social mammals. And that means your dog, your cat, your horse, you, your lovers, your friends, your family, everybody you will ever meet. This is structural and measurable, and it simply shows us what happens when we go up or down in energy, body, health and happiness. Now, this chart unlocks so many previously unanswerable questions. It's just amazing. It has absolutely endless applications for modern stress management, for success achievement, for diagnosing where things are going wrong so that we can go ahead and fix them, energetically speaking. It is the absolute sort of ground point zero of what I learned in the animal behavior experimentation. The key point of this is that we haven't got a smooth progression here from -0 all the way up to +10. This is not just a smooth progression. There are blips and dips, and most particularly that big freak out that we find at -7. That is what has confused people and have led people down the wrong path, and also the people who knew about this have used this deliberately to keep people, creatures, in a state of constant fear, where it's much easier to lead them, where it's much easier to have them panic and not think for themselves, basically. The modern energy chart is something that you can live with. You can hang it up on your fridge, hang it up on your wall, and you will find new and interesting aspects of what you can learn when you apply that to what you've learned in your life and what you see around you on a daily basis. So the modern energy chart is something that you can really live with and see, make up your own mind of how accurate that is, how easily predictable that is, and how immensely well that works, and how simple it becomes when we actually apply changes to that. And by changes, I mean adding positive energy. Okay, so now let's talk about the energy body. Now, you might be familiar with these sort of depictions of the Chinese acupuncture system, with these totally confusing lines absolutely everywhere, and these billions of points, and people needing 50 years to study all of that. And I'd like you to just take that and just let it go. Let's clear the doors of perception here. We can't see the energy body. And to make maps and charts of the energy body is one of those things that's probably not going to get any of us anywhere. So at this point, I like to use the following diagram to illustrate how the modern energy system sees the energy body. Like that. With a great big question mark on it. That's right. We don't know what's going on in the energy body. And the reason that we don't know this is that every energy body is highly personalized. I mean, people going on about like, yeah, all right, when you're born you get these unique fingerprints and sometimes they're the same as your identical twin. But my God, an energy body is so unique, so incredibly unique from the moment of conception onwards. Words fail me. And then what happens is that every single experience this growing energy body has will personalize it even further. No person has the same experiences as another person, and not in the same order and sequence. Now, there are cultures and societies that strive for extreme sameness, and they will do their damnedest to try and make sure that everybody sings the same songs, everybody has the exact same experiences at the exact same age, hears the exact same stories, has the exact same facial expressions, to create this sameness, when in fact the nature of the human energy body is utter personalization, utter individualism, utter total difference in every which way you could possibly imagine. So the way we use this diagram that I use is, we have a person in front of us, let's say in a client situation, but also in a personal situation. We have a person in front of us, and what we say to ourselves is, I don't know what's going on in your energy system. I have no idea. No map of your energy system has ever been drawn, could ever have been drawn by anybody. It's totally individual, but I'm so curious how it works. Let us explore this together. Let's see if we can do something for this energy body to evolve, to become healthier, to heal in some way, to have some breakthrough experiences that it's been waiting for all its life, so it can evolve to the next level of power. Now that makes energy work unbelievably exciting. It makes it really, really exciting and fascinating. It makes it personal. This is something I have mentioned, that I am an ex-child abuse survivor, and I don't like to be treated with a cookie cutter method. It doesn't work for me. It just hurts. One shoe fits all will rub my feet bloody. I'm not the only person who feels like that. With modern energy, we are directly trying to figure out how this energy system works and what we can do to make it feel better. Because when it feels better, then we become happier, and as we have already learned, our happiness matters a great, great deal. So, do we have the courage to deal with a completely unexplored energy system? Well, the astonishing thing, and this comes from EMO Energy in Motion, is that it's been super easy all the time, but just nobody's seen it. Because our body and our hands, and even the words we say, have been trying to tell us about energy problems all along, and we just haven't noticed this. Our hands are constantly painting energetic realities into the room and showing us where the energy setups in our own energy systems are. So, for example, somebody might say, I've got such a block to public speaking. That's not spurious. That's where the block is. If we turn it around, you can see how thick it is, and we turn it that way, we can see how tall it is. Simples. Somebody might say, oh, my wife is doing my head in. Oh, I wonder where the disturbance in the energy system is located. I wonder, where might it be? Where should we place our healing hands of energy so that the wife will no longer do the man's head in? How simple is that? How jaw-droppingly simple. Somebody might say, oh, ever since my husband left me, I just can't breathe anymore. I wonder where that disturbance is located in her energy body. I wonder where it might be, where we might be applying our healing hands of energy, or where we might just simply put some soothing, where we might put some essential oils to help feel better. You could even bring a crystal. How affecting this energy system here. The woman has shown us where it hurts. It's incredible how easy so many things become that were seemingly so complicated if we're trying to make out it's all in the person's mind. It's not in the person's mind. What they're feeling is real, it has a real location, and when we address that in a real way, their energy body responds. We're starting to feel better. Pain flows away, pain is replaced by new energy flows, and this has massive repercussions on what we're thinking. So it's really the wrong way around in some ways. Is what we need is, if we're thinking wrong, weird things, we need to heal the energy body first, and then we stop thinking weird things. It's a direct cause and effect. It's super simple, it's super logical. You can try this out over and over and over again with different people from different walks of life, with tiny children, with people who've had no education at all, anywhere in the world, and it works every time. Every time. And that is so wonderful because it shows us it is structural. You know, somebody says, I don't feel I can speak my mind here, you know. Ooh. And a little tip here, just really start looking at people, what they're showing you, with their hands, with their bodies, in the way, I mean, you know, sometimes even see people who do this, you know, they move their head from the center. What is there that is causing that? You know, people are reactive to energy, they show us energy. And when we open our eyes a little bit and actually pay attention to what's going on with people, you can see the effects of energy absolutely everywhere. So, we've discovered so far that energy is really real and that we have an energy body, each of us, that has been desperately neglected simply because people didn't even know it existed. Or if they did think they knew it existed, they made a strange model of it with weird chakras and lines and dots. And the energy system is much more complex than that. It is much more unknowable than that. We've also discovered it produces our emotions. And what does drive humanity from the cradle to the grave? Emotions. We wouldn't have wars, we wouldn't have art, we wouldn't have science if it wasn't for people wanting to feel better or trying to find, you know, the best possible things for themselves. This is known as the highest taste principle, and it is a natural organizing system. It's not some weirdness about people. All creatures do this. Even the smallest tiny little single-celled amoeba will swim towards the light. This has been misinterpreted as swimming away from the darkness, but that's not the case. We're not swimming away from the darkness. We are programmed to swim towards the light. You know, any being will go around, and if there's 5 fruit, it'll pick the nicest, ripest, tastiest fruit. It's a logical way to approach the world and to decide what you're going to do, who you're going to mate with, what you're going to eat, what you're going to drink, and to look for the next best positive thing. And that's our basic principle of swimming towards the light. Humans in their stressed states have made very weird ideas and assumptions about the world and how the world works. And when we bring energy back into it, love back into it, which actually connects the dots so beautifully, we can see where systems and ideas have come from that are just crazy, basically, stressed, crazy ideas that, you know, amoeba swim away from the darkness, for example. They don't, they swim towards the light. And that is a significant difference. And it goes with our core concept of our happiness matters. Now, as we are exploring the energy system and we're thinking about the energy body, the way forward, I felt, was to say, okay, we don't know what goes on in an individual's energy body, but there are certain general assumptions we can make about the energy body. And it's a natural system, clearly, you know, dogs and cats have them, horses have them, amoeba have them. So it is a perfectly natural system, so it has to obey all the natural laws that exist for everything else. And the way I like to think about the energy body is to think of it in terms as a real body. It's a real body, and it has nutritional needs, which brings us energy nutrition, which is a fascinating subject. What kind of vitamins has your energy body been lacking for years and years and years? The exact vitamins it might have needed to, become shinier, to be better equipped to deal with energy-type viruses or problems. What kind of energy vitamins does your energy body need to start self-repairing itself? The energy body absolutely has its own immune system, and it has its own defenses against incoming energies or negative energies or bad energy situations. Now, the most important defense system comes from the heart of energy, which, when it radiates, it acts like the sun. Bad things are coming in and they just burn up in the sun. They can't touch you. When our heart of energy goes down, this shrinks and becomes less and less active, and people become more and more touchy. And the smallest little insult or look or a bad email will cause them massive emotional pain and massive stress and massive symptoms from that. Repercussions from that, as they start freaking out and shouting abuse back or doing crazy things or starting to self-mutilate, for that matter. Understanding energy makes people completely logical. It makes them predictable. It makes them easy to deal with. It gives us a whole slew of new creative solutions to the oldest problems. It gives us new avenues of scientific discovery. And it gives us, an excitement about, wow, what else can we find out that wasn't there before? So I think having that sixth sense, which is our emotions, in the mix is one of the best things ever. That is the 16.7% advantage when you have become energy aware, or as they used to say in the olden days, you've become enlightened. Instead of 5 senses, you are understanding the world with 6 senses. And it's that 6th sense that connects the dots. Now behavior makes sense. Even extreme behavior makes sense. Because we can look on the energy chart and we can simply correlate what's happened over time with a person to what's going on with the energy chart. And here we come to a core principle of modern energy, and that is using the aspects model. Now, the aspects model basically says that anything that isn't here right now is an aspect. So I would have past aspects and I would have future aspects. My past aspects can be in many different energy states. And so this is now a wonderful way in which we can reorganize how we think about ourselves in the past, in the present, and in the future. Simply by using the 9 simple steps on the modern energy chart, we can go into a direction of what energy states we are in, or what energy states we were in. So, for example, people who have great regrets and feel great shame and guilt and other problems and anger at themselves for what their past aspects did, when we apply this model, we can say, okay, what energy state was that past aspect in? People will go, yeah, very stressed, out of their heads with stress. And then we can say to them, can you imagine that? How could they have done any better? And people say, well, they couldn't have. They couldn't have done any better. They were so stressed because of this, that, and that, and that they just went completely loopy. Right. So, can you hate them for that? Actually, no, that's quite difficult to do when you finally understand why it happened. And this is why modern energy is so important. So important. Understanding ourselves as human beings is probably the most important thing we could ever learn in this lifetime, because it affects what we do, how we act, it affects how we think about the past, how we move into the future, and it also affects the legacy that we leave. This is just an important knowledge to understand this. Once we understand that our own aspects acted the way they did because they were stressed, and there was no one there to help them, there was no one there to say to them, hey, you're stressed, you need to raise energy, mate, to get out of these terrible states, and don't make any decisions until you're at least a +5. Nobody said that to them. If we can understand that it wasn't the aspect's fault given all the circumstances, we can begin to understand that other people's aspects are exactly in the same position. Of course they would do what they were doing because of the stress that they were under. It changes the way we think about ourselves. It ends a lot of the old judgment. It brings a state of being there where a little love can be planted, and with just a little bit of positive energy can grow into a real understanding, a loving understanding of our own past, present and future. And that loving understanding then ripples out to understanding other people better too. All of this makes us stronger, it makes us wiser, it makes us smarter. It is the way out of the old and into the new. Modern energy is a massive paradigm shift. So modern energy concerns itself not with the physical body. There's lots and lots and lots of people and lots and lots and lots of modalities which are all focused on the physical body. Modern energy doesn't concern itself with the mind or psychology in any shape or form. That's not where we're at. Modern energy concerns itself only and strictly with the energy body. The energy body is the third piece in the mind, body, spirit triad. The energy body has been neglected, maltreated, and not at all supported in the way that it should have been all its entire life. There is no decent body of knowledge of how to deal directly with the energy body. The so-called bodies of knowledge about the energy body that exist, they are all based on trying to somehow heal the physical body through the energy body. So in other words, oh well, we'll now pay some attention now that we've got cancer. That's not what modern energy is about. Modern energy is about the energy aspect of any given situation. So, for example, if we have a professional energist and a person comes along and they says, I've got terrible migraines, can you heal me? The modern energist would say, aha, now, I'm an energist. I only work with the energy body. And we don't know if your migraine is an energy body problem. It could be, it might be, but it might not be. The chances are that it is somewhere on a scale between 0 and 100%. So 0%, there is absolutely nothing wrong with your energy body, and it is a strictly physical problem that creates these migraines. That's an absolute possibility. And then we've got the 100%, which is that it is totally and only an energy body problem. It has absolutely nothing to do with the physical body. And if we cure that, then your migraines will just be gone, right? But in between that 0 to 100%, there lies the entire range of how much of an input the energy body problem might have on the overall problem. So with any particular client who comes in with a migraine, and that's a word, right? They got really bad headaches. Every individual client, we don't know before we start what and how much on this scale from 0 to 100 the energy body is actually responsible for that problem. And we tell the client that. It could just be that it's just 5% and you get a 5% reduction in your headache. It could be 20%, it could be 30%. But we don't know before we start, because your energy body is a completely unexplored territory of which no maps have ever been drawn. Now, if you're happy to go with me into this exploration and to find out what the percentage is of an energy body problem contributing to your migraine, then I'm happy to go ahead and we can do that together, and it'll be exciting, and let's find out. What I don't do is promise you some kind of miracle healing, or that your migraine will disappear, or that all migraines can be healed with modern energy healing. It's not the case. We don't know before we start what effect it's going to have. Now, it is true that if you work as an energist for a very long time and people come with certain problems, it goes, I've seen this 50 times before, and it is an energy problem. But to be fair, we can't predict whether some person might have something else wrong with them. And what we're here for as modern energists is obviously to make people happier, make the world a better place, a more logical place. And we want people to go to the right kind of help that they will find. We deal with the energy body. Then you've got the doctors who deal with the physical body. We've got psychologists who deal with the mind in some shape or form. But we focus only on the energy body. We make no claim of cure. We do not promise people the world. All we are promising them is that we're going to do our best to really address the energy body problem that has never even been looked at. Not once in possibly 50 years in therapy has anybody ever said, okay, when you think about that, where do you feel that in your body? Show me with your hands. And the person going, it's there. And nobody has asked that question, and nobody has ever said it is possible, and that's all we're saying, it is possible that you have an energy blockage, an energy damage in your energy body, which is causing this pain, this emotional pain, and from which these symptoms come that you are experiencing. Now, in my opinion, everybody who has a problem needs to know this and needs to look at that overlooked angle, that additional 7% of information that has not been there before. Everybody needs to at least look at that and factor that in, so we get a bigger picture and we can take more logical, reasonable and rational decisions about what we need to do to become happier. Remember, modern energy is all about making people happier, right? Any which way we can. So that is really what modern energy is for, to fill that giant hole in the spirit section that is not being addressed, to take the energy body really seriously as a body with nutritional needs that can be damaged, with growing needs because it tries to evolve, it doesn't want to get stuck in a juvenile state. To really think in terms of a very real body that is communicating with us through the medium of our emotions, and to try and make our energy bodies a whole lot happier. Okay, and so here we come to modern energy techniques. Modern energy techniques, like the entire idea that we have this unexplored individual energy system, and nobody has drawn a chart of that as yet. All modern energy techniques are designed to not be done in rows where everybody's doing the same thing, everybody's saying the same thing. It is designed to work for the individual with the needs of the moment. This is very important to understand. So whatever technique we are applying, it is always specialized to that person, to give that person what they need to have a healthier, happier energy body. And it doesn't matter what this technique is, and I'm sure we will develop many, many more interesting techniques as time goes by. In this short introduction, in the next section, we're going to do EMO Energy in Motion, which is where all of the modern energy theory and practice comes from. Then we're going to do some modern energy tapping using the power of the positives. We're going to look at SuperMind and the energy symbols. And if there's a little bit time left over, I will also talk about modern energy art, because that's really a wonderful thing. Creativity is very important when it comes to finding creative, real-world solutions to real problems that people have had for millennia, for all we know. So this concludes part 1 of our introduction to modern energy. You now know where it's come from, you know what the purpose is, and you know the basic principles that we are always using. The highly individualized energy body, the real energy body that has, real hands of healing, a real head, which is the energy mind. It has energy nutritional needs, it has energy flows. But we don't know exactly, and we won't map them, because each person's energy system is super highly personalized. The purpose of modern energy is to make people happier, to bring them up the energy chart, and then to find out what happens to civilizations and societies when people are more energy rich, and when they understand that being energy rich is so important in the greater scheme of things for every aspect of the lives and legacies of human beings. So if you want to remember just one thing from this entire thing, your happiness really matters, and it really matters. It is super important. Your happiness, your high energy selves, your plus 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 energy being is exactly what this world needs right now, to be there, to be out there, to come up with solutions, to live your life in a way where little children look and go, wow, I want to be like that when I grow up. That's what we need. Your happiness matters. I just hope I have transmitted this to you. And thank you for your attention. I hope you found this to be fun and entertaining as well as enlightening. And I look forward to seeing you in the next section, which is all about EMO Energy in Motion.